It is 8:18. Welcome back. You're watching BT Vancouver. It's back to school for most students across the province today. However, many students will continue to learn from home. And joining us now to make the most of this situation is someone who knows a lot about learning, Joanne Dominico. She is a learning strategist. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Mary. Great to be here.
Yeah, so millions of parents are very new to this situation. A lot of them wearing three roles, really. Parent, they're working, and they're also trying to teach their children now. So what would you say to parents who are doing this all for the first time?
Well, I'm doing all three myself, so I'm speaking from personal and professional experience. But my first piece of advice is to just have an air of positivity. Try and remain really optimistic and positive, because there's something called mirror neurons where our children actually feed off our energy. So we don't want to be treating this like it's a tedious chore. My second piece of advice is about time and energy management. So once you find out your child's schedule, your work schedule, see how you can flex and fit everything in. And also energy management. Try and schedule more challenging things earlier in the day when children have more motivation and willpower.
Earlier in the day, very interesting. Okay, let's get into setting up the space effectively, because I know you've mentioned before when you were on our program in the past, do not do the learning in the bedroom because they will just fall asleep.
Yes. So some general tips for setting up their space: never in the bed. Not even on the couch. You want a surface, a hard surface like a desk or a table. You want to make sure even the ergonomics are correct, that your child's elbows can rest comfortably on the desk without them having to shrug their shoulders up. And you want to eliminate distractions as much as possible. So no TV on in the background, no cell phone or games with the tablet right beside them, just focusing on that as much as possible. And another thing I would say about this space too is if you're using a multi-use space, you can try having a kit where you set up all their books and stuff on the kitchen table, and then when it's time for lunch, you take it off. So they can prime their brain to know when it's time to learn or when it's time to eat breakfast.
Okay, great tips. What about screen time? We know the screen time for learning has increased. How do you feel about non-educational screen time?
Well, non-educational screen time, I do feel that it should be monitored and limited. And in terms of the guidelines, children under 2-0 is what is recommended. 2 to 5, 1 hour per day of non-educational screen time. And then from age 6 and up, it really depends. It depends on your child. It depends on the content. You want to ensure that they're viewing high quality content, and also the context. So if the family is together watching a movie or even playing games together, then that's better than just them hours and hours on a game by themselves. So really knowing your child and setting up limits that work for them. So my son has a rule: he has to earn his screen time. So do a few math worksheets, then you can earn some time to play your games.
And how structured do you think the day should be, Joanne? Because you mentioned, he does a few minutes of math and then he gets some screen time. Is it the same every day, or do you kind of go with the mood of the child?
Yeah, I think younger children especially thrive on routine, so they like that consistency and predictability. So having a similar structure day to day would be helpful. For older children, they kind of prefer the autonomy and flexibility. So maybe having a checklist of certain things that they have to complete every day, but they get to determine when they're going to complete them. So follow the guidance of your teacher in terms of how much academic time, and then structure the additional time based on you and your family's preferences.
All right, Joanne, we are out of time, but thank you so much for joining us this morning. Great tips as always, and we will post this interview online.
Great, thank you.
That is Joanne Dominico. She is a learning strategist, and she has her own learning brand called Study with Joanne. You can give her a search online. It is